Today on Locked On Rockies, the 2024 season has come to an end, and so has Charlie Blackmon's Major League Baseball career. We look back on the season and the final game, and of course, say thank you one more time to Chuck Nasty.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 30th day of September in the year 2024, the conclusion of the 2024 baseball season for the Colorado Rockies, at least. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, as I've now done for 3 seasons now, and counting here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Been a Rockies fan my entire life, and what an interesting day on Sunday for the Colorado Rockies as the Rockies finish a homestand that, honestly, I wish I was feeling different about. I wish I was sitting in this with a series win against the Cardinals and, a hard-fought series against the Dodgers. But unfortunately, things kind of ended with a thud for the Colorado Rockies. And while there's still things to be hopeful for in the future for this team, there's also a lot of things that I think are still unanswered for the Colorado Rockies. Still unknowns for the Colorado Rockies, and it's going to be a really interesting offseason for this team because I'm still not totally certain how to make up my mind about everything with the Rockies, about the future of the Rockies, about what they'll do and what they believe is going to be successful for them. Because while we can distract ourselves with celebrating Charlie Blackmon and the seasons of Ezequiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle and the performance of the bullpen in the last month of the season, and there are things to be excited about, this is still back-to-back 100-loss seasons. This is still a team that doesn't necessarily have a bunch of direction, and this is a team that has a lot of questions left to be answered. Let's dive into all of that. Before we do, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So I get to this point in the season. I get to this thing, and I get to the end of the game and talk about the game, the season ending just as weird as it's kind of gone the whole season. The Rockies in a dogfight after, oh my God, Sam Hilliard hitting a ball to the rooftop. And there's a prime example right there. The Sam Hilliard story, a great story for him. But in the big picture of things, what are you going to do? Is he a factor in the season going forward? Jake Cave getting the start, is he a factor in this team going forward? What does that look like for this team? Are they going to be, who is going to replace what Charlie Blackmon brings to this team? Are those guys capable of doing something like that? No, not necessarily. I mean, there's really no one right now outside of some of the young guys that could fill those shoes. But this is a team that strikes out a lot. This is a team that has big problems when it comes to the pitching staff. This is a team that has closed-minded ownership and doesn't embrace new ideas. I feel like we can't sit here and be totally confident in everything going forward with the Rockies. Like I said, there are things that were good about this season. There are things that we should be encouraged by. Ezequiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle, the bullpen, Michael Toglia, Sam Hilliard being, can fill a bench, being an interesting bench spot. The Rockies giving Drew Romo a shot and seeing what that's going to be for the rest. And who knows what the future might hold for some of these other Rockies veterans. But it was still not enough. This was still a team that looked completely outmatched throughout this entire series. This is a team that's looked outmatched at multiple times throughout the season. This is a team that has work to be done. And as the season ends right now, I just, it's a weird spot. This offseason should be one full of change for the Colorado Rockies. Charlie Blackmon retiring, opening up the next era for the next Rockies great, the next face of the franchise to emerge. Charlie, everybody's favorite Rocky has moved on. Do you move on from the manager to really usher in a new era? Patrick Saunders tweeting out today that he thinks Bud Black is going to be back, but there haven't been any talks. Didn't want to talk about any of his contract stuff today, obviously, with Charlie. But, do we really believe that this team will fully embrace a new path forward, a new generation, the next generation, the next step? The Charlie Blackmon-led Rockies era is done. And you can say what you will about how it went and the fact that Charlie Blackmon mostly played on losing teams. So where do we go from here? What do you really sit here and say and look at this team and believe that you can go through an offseason with minimal to no moves? Because I really do wonder, how aggressive is this team going to be at acquiring pitching when they can sit back and already say, we're pretty confident that we have 4 starters for the next season? Freeland, Marquez, Senzatella, and Feltner. Bearing the health, of course, of German Marquez and such. But are we really fully confident that this Rockies team is going to address all of the problems? How are they going to address this strikeout conundrum? This team is bad at striking out. This team's offensive approach and philosophy is flawed. Yes, they're hitting more home runs. They hit more home runs this year, and they hit more home runs down the stretch. That's great. But nobody hit 30 home runs for the Rockies this year. Another season without a 30 home run hitter. Another season in which the Rockies did not get better at stealing bases. Another season in which parts of the lineup were just ice cold and clutch hitting went non-existent. Can you fully buy into just the young bullpen to help you avoid being the team that sets a new major league record for collapses in the 9th inning? These are the Rockies have so many bad things to address and fix. But it's the question of will they and can they? I don't sit here, right? I sit here and I think of ways the Rockies can improve this offseason, what the Rockies need to do this offseason. But I don't sit here necessarily 100% confident in this team's, I don't know if ability to get it done is the right way. Belief, want to get it done. This roster and this lineup looks like it has hey, we just need to play better type of mentality, a type of twist from the front office. I can sit there and them say being encouraged by Jake Cave and all of this and wanting to run back this team and believing that if they get healthy with the arms, they're going to be good. Jake Cave finished the year in -7.7 WAR. 251 batting. I mean, again, it's will the Rockies go out and add a different type of veteran to beef up this team, a veteran bat that can add more firepower and offense to this team, someone that can walk and get on base effectively and not strike out a bunch? Or the Rockies going to have to fully embrace another year like this for next year and fully just go with some young guys and try to figure it out? All of these questions, all of these things are swirling around about the Colorado Rockies, and I don't necessarily think that we can get a clear answer. This team, has they're like we said, they're the bubbling moments, the bubbling moments of interest are there, but this is a team that still can't get out of its own way. It's a team that still seems so far away. I just don't think that I just don't see this organization being able to really drastically change things right now as they're entering uncharted waters again. Remember, it took 30 years for the Rockies to lose 100 games in a season. They've now done it in back-to-back seasons. There's so much that should about next year that should be new. The concept of new, and a breath of fresh air into this organization. But I don't necessarily know if the Rockies are going to go for it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that I don't think that it's all that crazy to think that the Rockies bring back the entire coaching staff and think that, and just say they got to be a little hope for more health from the pitching staff and go from there. I wouldn't be surprised if this team isn't very active in the offseason. I don't believe that that's the right moves for the Colorado Rockies. I don't believe that's going to be the thing that's going to help them get back to the playoffs. But this is the Rockies. Have we really seen anything this year outside of maybe the contract talks stalling with Bud Black that really makes you feel otherwise? With the retirement of Charlie Blackmon, that should be the catalyst to really kickstart a refresh of the Rockies. Hell, you're even bringing in new uniforms next year. There's a whole bunch of new and fresh that the Rockies desperately need. But it's a matter of the organization themselves going for it and getting after it. And I got to see it before I can believe it. I got to see the Rockies be an aggressive offseason team. I have to see this Rockies team have some players take those steps in the right direction and develop through this next offseason. I need to see lots more steps forward for a lot of Rockies across the board, pitching and offense. The Rockies have a long way to go with a lot of interesting things, with a lot. There is a lot to be excited by. But my hesitation, my doubts, unfortunately, still are at the forefront of my brain. All right, let's talk about Charlie Blackmon's last game. Let's talk about the ceremonies and the celebration there for Charlie and the early exit from the game. We'll talk about that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. FanDuel's got you covered throughout the sports calendar, and NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets, and you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So that means if you want to place $5 on, the Broncos money line for the next week after their big win, or maybe you want to get in on the Monday night football action, you can see all of the lines, all of the props, all the parlays, all the action on FanDuel's website and on the FanDuel app. And remember, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Just bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. We are your daily Colorado Rockies source here. And every time you like the videos, every time you subscribe, every time you check us out on the YouTube channel, you're really helping the show grow. You're really helping us out here, so I really do appreciate it. Didn't quite hit our goal of the 1,000 subscribers for the end of the year, but we sure got close, and we got plenty of people still tuning in and joining us each and every day. So thank you so much again for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, our pal Sully's got you covered for everything else in the world of baseball. Locked On MLB is perfect for your second listen of the day. And now that if the Rockies play-by-play might be over, but SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app is going to get you covered for all things postseason baseball. Postseason baseball. One day we'll be back and we'll enjoy the Rockies, Rocktober. God, it's one of the perfect names, one of the perfect branding things. Rocktober. It's more than just a year. It's a lifestyle. It's a brand. Oh, boy. It was an emotional day at Coors Field at the finale there for Charlie Blackmon. It was really great to see all of the celebration. Really great to see him perform. I mean, he went out with a great homestand. The Rockies themselves might not have had a great homestand. Charlie Blackmon had a great homestand, and he got to play center field. The energy, I mean, it is going to be so weird not hearing his walk-up song next year. I think the big elephant in the room when you're talking about it was the early pull for Charlie Blackmon and him being removed in the third game after his second at bat. I'm assuming that had to have been agreed upon. I don't know. I haven't. That's a really, really interesting situation. I certainly thought it would be another thing. There had to have been a conversation of maybe it's like, hey, we have the lead. You got an at bat. You got a hit in your second at bat. We want you to go out on a base hit. It just seemed like a little strange because you seemed a little caught off guard. But of course, I think you're going to be caught off guard no matter what in that situation, right? If you're Charlie, you never want it to end. But unfortunately, it has come to an end. And unfortunately, his final game ended in another weird loss for the Colorado Rockies, a random balk that cost the match. But I don't know. So I guess my big thoughts on Charlie being pulled early is that had to have been planned. I assumed at least that wouldn't have come until the 6th or 7th inning. A couple more at bats, give him a chance, see what happens. But it's you want him to be celebrated. He got his curtain call. He got all the ovations. It just. I think our buddy Skylar Timmons there from Purple Row put it well, where he said, as mysteriously as his career began, it ends all the same. And it is a little bit of mystery, I think, with that. I saw some people on the Rockies Reddit. I guess he was super close to a plate appearance incentive and stuff like that. I don't know. So in that situation, it has to be discussed there. But in terms of that's it. Today's game, obviously, I guess there you go. Cat's out of the bag. I'm recording on Sunday. But in the finale there, you see how important it is, how important Charlie Blackmon is. You see his significance not only to the Rockies and Rockies fans, but to the Dodgers, to the opponents, to the people that have played him, to the people that took time to record a message to him. Yes, he mostly spent time on losing seasons, but it's another situation in which the Rockies' greatness should not be ignored. It will not be good enough to get Charlie Blackmon into the Hall of Fame. But Charlie Blackmon needs to be celebrated for what he's done and what he did for the Colorado Rockies. Charlie Blackmon, in his entire career for the Colorado Rockies, always was a positive contributor to the Rockies. There's not a single situation in which that he wasn't. He was a negative WAR player twice in his career. And one of them, it was in 2022 and 2011. Other than that, he was a positive contribution. And through his stretch there in the middle, building up with this Rockies team, building up this Rockies team to their playoff run, being an all-star 3 years in a row during those playoff runs, having MVP votes, having Silver Sluggers. He will be sorely missed. You do not replicate that. Finishes his career 21.2 WAR, 227 home runs, 293 batting average, 801 RBIs, career OBP of 353, a slugging 479, an OPS of 832. 12 home runs still this year, multiple triples. Those guys, Charlie Blackmon deserves to be fully remembered. Charlie Blackmon deserves to be celebrated with the Rockies, and it is now time with this as we are approaching now in 2 years, the 20-year anniversary of October. The time is now for the Rockies to do more to celebrate the greatness of their players. I loved the celebration. I loved what they did. And of course, Charlie wasn't going to do a big year-long celebration thing. Really great insight into that there from Spilly talking to his parents during the broadcast, giving his parents the heads up in spring training. Charlie knowing throughout this season. And that just kind of gives you the context. It reminds you that not a single moment did Charlie Blackmon take this season for granted. Every single opportunity he had, he wanted to make sure he took advantage of it. And Charlie Blackmon finished his career, for a frustrating team, doing a lot of losing, as someone who navigated his career not only with great class, but you never heard complain. And when there was frustration, it was frustrated about the team and the performance, and owning up to those frustrations as a person, never pushing the blame, never looking for excuses. That's the type of guy you want representing your team. The guy that yells, "Here we go," and talks to every single guy before they go out and hit the field. Charlie Blackmon's leadership will not be easily duplicated, and it probably won't be. Players like Charlie Blackmon are unique individuals that bring incredible personality and depth and passion to your team. It's because of Charlie Blackmon, Coors Field was full for the final homestand for a team that was losing 100 games. Yes, it was Ohtani and the Dodgers as well. You can point that stuff out as well. But not for that Cardinals series. Not for the finale. People care about baseball greatness in Colorado. People care about Rockies icons. It is time that the Rockies really acknowledge that, really buy into that, and really build into that. If you truly see this young core as full of players that can help you get back to the mountaintop, it is time to embrace different ideas so you don't have a player that sees 2 playoff appearances in his entire career. Someone that can contribute at the level that Charlie Blackmon contributes, and it's not in vain. You need to build depth throughout the lineup so that he doesn't have to be the only person pulling that weight. There's a lot of work left to be done for the Colorado Rockies, and there's a lot of work to be done left in the wake of Charlie Blackmon's retirement. But another shout out again, and a big time thank you to Charlie Blackmon, of course. I'm sure he does not listen to the pod. But that's the type of stuff that makes that when people ask, why are you a Rockies fan? It's because of guys like Charlie Blackmon. And the thing I kind of wanted to just swing by and back and finish on in this part is, again, I don't need to bring up the number retirement thing and all that stuff. And again, I'll just be clear. I'm fine if you retire 19. I'm fine if you retire 5. I'm fine if you retire numbers for Rockies greatness. But if you aren't going to retire numbers, it's time to create more space and more of a platform for Rockies greatness to be remembered. And it needs to be done in that area, in the ballpark or the surrounding area of the ballpark. You need to continue to build. You cannot, even throughout these losing seasons and these tough seasons here, you cannot ignore and you cannot deny the greatness that still happened during this time. We cannot forget how good Charlie Blackmon was just because he played on mostly losing teams, because Charlie Blackmon was a great, great player and an all-time Rocky and on a lot of people's Mount Rushmores. All right, let's close out the show. The final podcast reacting to the regular season, the 2024 regular season, before we enter off-season mode. We'll do that next here on Locked On Rockies. Well, Rockies tickets might not be in style anymore, but that doesn't mean the latest and greatest sports, comedy, theater, whatever aren't still the hottest tickets in town. And Gametime's got you covered because Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime's got the all-in pricing. You just click that button up at the top. You're going to toggle that feature and it's going to show you all of the price. No hidden fees, no nothing. That's what you're going to pay right there. So you know exactly what's coming out of your wallet and how to budget for the rest of your big night out. Best part too, you're going to see a view from your seats. You're going to know exactly where you're sitting, and they got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. And folks, I don't know. Like I said, I wish I could be sitting here. I would be in such a different spot as we wrap up the season if the Rockies didn't. If the last week of the season wasn't still just kind of like a prime example of this season. They just couldn't put together the full, solid, strong, full month. You know, they couldn't avoid a big losing stretch. You had 6 games at home and you lose 5 of 6 and you get swept by your division rival to end the season. I get rival. I know, quotes. Division big brother. How about that? And yes, while I love that Ezequiel Tovar might be might be getting representation as one of the top shortstops in the league for all MLB, and I think Brenton Doyle's got a great case at the Gold Glove. I still sit here as this season ends, and as we already begin to look ahead to the next season, I hesitate because the Rockies as a whole need to take a step forward. It's not just Tovar. It's not just Doyle. It's Jones having a comeback season. It's figuring out what are you doing with this crop of young players and where are they going to go? What role do the Shunks and the Goodmans and the Becks all play? What are they going to do? It's addressing this pitching staff. It's looking at and understanding that this state of the pitching staff. I forgot to mention Austin Gomber when we were talking about that. Dude, are the Rockies really going to change anything with their starting rotation next year? They have 5 pitchers. They're loyal. They're known to be loyal. I sit here and I hesitate at building optimism that the team's going to be that much different next year. Chris Bryant, if healthy, slides into that DH role for Charlie Blackmon as the vet. I wouldn't be surprised if Hilliard and Cave make their way back onto the team. And then again, what will this team actually make changes with the pitching staff this offseason? Will the team make any changes with coaching? Does being a bottom offense in the league and a bottom pitching staff in the league lead to consequences when it comes to the coaching staff? All of those questions, I think, have answers. It's pretty easy to just buy into the no. Because I don't necessarily know what reason the Rockies would have given you to believe otherwise. I really don't think right now, I don't know how much I believe in great change coming to the Colorado Rockies, even though it's clear that great change is needed for this team. I don't know. What do you think, folks? What are your thoughts going into the offseason? How are you feeling as the Rockies season comes to a close? How are you feeling with back-to-back 100-loss seasons? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what's on your mind here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, because that is going to do it for today's episode. Don't worry, folks. More Locked On Rockies still coming your way all off season long, so don't miss out. So stay subscribed, stay locked in, stay locked on Rockies. And folks, thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And we are also on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Our pal Sully's got you covered. And if you need more coverage of Colorado sports, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services as well. Folks, we look ahead to 2025. And until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.